Hey everyone. Hello. Welcome to the live show. Checking out if everything is all right. It does seem like it is. So here we are for another live tech show. It's cool to see everyone here. We're having a very, very unusual day today, and it's like 24 Celsius, which is like something like 76 Fahrenheit for you guys in the US. You know, it should be like in the 50s or even lower. It's like, should be around 10 or 12 Celsius. We're having pretty surprising weather in the past months. Actually, I had a great summer. So here we go. Hello, everyone. This is our live tech show. So we are live tech show number 49, and we are Tuesday, October 18, 2016. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and this is the show where I answer your questions. We are on every Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 hours Universal Time, and hopefully you enjoy our show. And where do you send your questions, you might ask? help-with-your-computers@gmail.com. The email that you see here is where I receive your questions. But that is going to be added next week with, we'll take a possibility of having live questions from the chat room. And, well, I will need 1 or 2, 3 regular viewers that can be there regularly. What I would like is that if you're in the chat, I would need 2 or 3 moderators. So I would assign you a moderator status in the chat room on YouTube. That gives you the possibility to remove or block a stupid user or troll that just tries to, create havoc in the chat room. So if any one of you would like, and you're a regular user or you've asked questions and you'd be interested in not only using the chat room there, but ideally what I'd like is 2 or 3, so that because I don't want to force anybody to be here because you're a moderator. So if we have like 2 or 3 people that are moderators, even if you're not there one Tuesday or a few Tuesdays, it doesn't matter, because we have at least backups of who can be moderators. And it's mostly just to check upon the chat and block any users that would use bad language or just troll the chat room and call us names and stuff like that. So I think that would be nice. And so with that, well, I'll be able to give moderator status, and every time once I give you moderator status, every time that we do the live show, if you are in the chat, you always have moderator status. So that means that you have the possibility of blocking any bad user. So if anybody wants the little job of doing this, you can send me an email, and we'll fix that up next week as we have everybody on board. So I have ideas of a few of you that could, if you wish, be moderators. So, but if anybody that is a regular viewer and enjoys the show, wants to help out, why not? I have the power. I have the power. So welcome everybody. Nice to have everybody on board. And well, we already have 2 viewers that would like to, and The funny thing is that the two of them that just said, "Yep, I'd like to." Well, you know what? Are two people that I had in mind already because of the interaction we had in all the shows. So, yep, next week, Stephen Mail and Tim Robinson. No problem. Next week, I open up the chat and I will give you guys moderator status, which means that I'll show you how it works, but no problem. So, and no problem for those lines. No problem. Douglas Elliott would like to, but he's already administering a huge art forum, so it's already a lot of jobs. So no problem, Douglas. And I already have two, so that's not bad at all. And I guess we'll find a few as we go on. So I'll show you how it works. It's quite easy, by the way. Once I give you moderator status, every time somebody posts on the right side of the post, there are three little dots. When you click there, you got possibilities to do things. One of them is to block permanently that user. So you'll see it's very easy. All you have to do is just let everything go through him. But when you see that there's one user that isn't behaving correctly, well, you can just ban, and that's it. So that we have a clean chat room, and that's the thing that I want to have is try to prevent idiots from using these chat rooms. So Tim Robinson and Stephen Mail, so not bad. We'll have two already. So let's start our show. We have some questions, of course, and we'll be going on. If I look a little tired, I actually fell asleep around 1 p.m. this afternoon, and I woke up because somebody knocked on the door about 20 minutes before I started the show. So I might look a little sleepy. And thank God, because you know what? I was sleeping so tight that I think if nobody knocked at the door, I think I would still be sleeping, and you guys would be like, "Where's the show?" And so here I am. Okay, donations. If you enjoy the show, please consider donation. Patreon is a great way to give a donation. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/radio and computers. And there you can, give anything from basically you can give anything from a penny to whatever amount. Every time we do a live show, it helps, and it is recurrent. So every month, we have a certain number of patrons that already give us a little amount, and you can get out of that anytime you want. So there's no catch or nothing. If you want to do a one-time donation, you can go to PayPal, send your donations to this email address. Very much appreciated. Helps me buy new equipment and improve upon the show the best that I can. And very much appreciated. And thank you to everybody that have donated. And don't worry, if you can't donate, I understand. It's quite all right. So we'll start with questions. Tim Robinson saying, I don't think that any idiots see the show live. You know what? That's the thing. It's just that when you start mentioning that there's a live chat room, because I do have idiots from my radio channel that we've blocked and that we stopped trolling from, and of course they know about every other thing that I do. So they might be not watching the show because they don't they just want to cause trouble, but they will be there when they see that the chat room's open and they can actually create havoc. So, you just give them a chance and they are there. That's the thing. I've enough experience now with live chat rooms to understand that that is what's happening. So, okay, browser questions. Before we start with the browser questions, there's Tommy that says, what do we have here? Okay, that I read last week. Okay, the Piriform program, so from Tommy, and he was talking about that Piriform app. Okay, so and we have Tommy that has a few questions that we'll try to get to in today's show. Okay, browser questions that come from Natalie. Natalie, that is in Saskatchewan, Canada. So nice to have a fellow Canadian on board. So the questions from Natalie is why does Microsoft Edge get worse? And I don't know if you've watched my video that I posted about 2 hours ago of my ranting at Microsoft Edge. That is, I'm sorry, horrible. And I got to say that Microsoft Edge is just, for now, for me, Microsoft Edge, I've stopped using it totally, and or almost totally. As I'm realizing, habits. When we have habits, it's very difficult to change that. And I noticed that, like for example, all of the live show and the Hangout, the emails, are open in Edge. So it's become a habit for me to use Edge rather than anything else. But for that it works fine. So it's okay. Yeah, the team at Microsoft needs to really test the browser somehow. I can understand one thing about Microsoft Edge that got worse. And what I can understand is, don't these people that work on Edge go on the web somewhere and just go into a gazillion websites to see if everything's all right? It's as if they think that the code and the way that things are done, no, it should work. We know our thing should work. Completely idiot. I can tell you that. Completely idiot. I hope they go on the web and they see something and they look at web pages, because if they don't, this is never going to get good. And it's part of the ranting that I've also done on the feedback hub. And I'm not alone. Microsoft Edge going bad. And I got to say that, man, it's just sad, it's just really sad. What I think of Opera browser, not bad. I actually have installed Opera on all of my PCs. What I decided to do basically is to try the maximum or the most popular browsers. The only one I didn't install is Safari. I don't want to have anything about Safari. I don't like Safari. And I believe Safari should stay on the Mac. But I like it. It is based on Chromium, which is the same basics as Google Chrome. So, it has a good start. Already has a nice, basic browsing engine in there, and it seems to work fine, and it has many advantages, and why not? I actually used it a little bit this week and find it really cool. And the other questions you have is, what do I use? Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, or Opera, or any other browser? Typically, I'm a very complex guy because I have many different things that I do. And as some of you know, I have several YouTube channels. And when I decided to move from Edge, I went back to Chrome, which was my #1 browser, basically. But as I am using my my accounts, I realized that I am sick and tired of moving from an account to another account to another account to another account every time I want to post videos of the different YouTube channels. So I had an idea that was kind of interesting. I decided to use Firefox, Opera, Chrome, all three of them, and all three have a different YouTube channel by default. So like that, if I want to post something on one channel, oh, Firefox, another channel, Chrome, another channel, Opera. So for example, my radio channel, I open Opera. That's where it's already there open. I just have to click the upload button if I want to post a video and so on. Chrome has my my Windows channel that everybody's looking at right now. And so I thought, oh, that would be a good idea. So I've decided to kind of separate each browser into different little things that I do. So like that, each browser has its own little thing. And I find that cool because you just open, you can open all three if you want. I can have all three browsers. It's easy to navigate because they each have an icon that is different. So I actually find that pretty cool to do that instead of having tabs or, and it works well. Even when, I have Edge, Chrome, Firefox, and Opera open, I don't see really a slowdown or anything in my PC. So it's cool. I think it's great like that, basically. So that's pretty much my usage right now. And if I would say I have I don't, it's very hard. I can't say I have a preference. And the reason is, the only reason Chrome would be kind of one of my preferred browser is not because it's Chrome or anything, or any feature, except the fact that it synchronizes all of my accounts from my Gmail. And because of that, Chrome is my preferred one because everything's synced. But, Opera, Firefox also offer the same thing now. So I can't say that I have a favorite browser. Whatever you like and works, I think that's what you should use, and that's it. And the rest, I don't like the people that will say, oh, well, I don't use Internet Explorer. It's so bad. It's, oh, really, you're using Internet Explorer? Oh, man, you should use something else. You know what? That is not something that I subscribe to. I subscribe to, you like your browser and it does everything you want. It doesn't matter. Okay? Forget what everybody says and just use it. Okay? If it doesn't work well, then you can use something else. Thank you for your questions, Natalie. Also, we have Ezimasa that says, so he's in New York State, and he's asking about basically Chromebooks, Chromebits. He's got a Chromebit. And he wanted to know, is there any way that he can, if this Google Chrome system can be updated or anything. Now, Google devices that run like Chromebooks or Chromebits that run the Chrome operating system, okay, which is a specific Google operating system, have their own updates, and you have to check into your settings. In your settings, in your general settings somewhere, there will be a button that will say check for updates. And that's how you will update these devices. It's like Android. These devices are meant that you cannot force a new system on them, but they are meant to be internally checked for updates, and if an update is available, they will actually appear and give you that update. So that's how you have to do it. Check for updates within the device. Unfortunately, there's a bad side to that. Some devices might actually never offer any updates except maybe a few security updates. Also, one of the things that I'm a little scared right now of Chrome OS is that even though Google is using Chrome OS, we're not totally sure yet on what direction they're going, because now that means that they have a Chrome OS for kind of PCs and tablets, but they also have Android. So are they going to decide eventually, hey, everything should run Chrome OS, and maybe we even have phones that eventually will have the Chrome OS stuff. Basically, that's something that you can that's something that, you know, it can happen, and I would think that Google will eventually someday maybe manage and prefer Chrome OS on everything. So you have to check within your device. That's pretty much it. And what I think about these devices, it's actually, you know what, Chromebooks and all these devices that run Chrome OS, okay, there are higher end devices, but there are a lot of very low priced devices that run it well. The positive side of this is that because it's something that's still a small amount of users, you know, viruses are not really much of a problem. And the bad side, I would say, is that these devices are meant to be used online all the time, because they were created in the spirit that you are always logged on the internet somehow. But they are nice devices, and actually I would, I personally, a few times I've been looking at a few Chromebooks that were like $200, and I was thinking, maybe I should, I think I should buy one and, you know, play with it, because they're a lot of nice little devices, inexpensive, and for a lot of people they do the job. I mean, it's not a PC, it's not a Windows machine. There are things you cannot do, but in general, for what a lot of people do on the internet and do with computers, I think they are perfect. And why not? They are inexpensive, and they run pretty good, you know. And there's really some really nice high-end devices also. But you know what? Chromebooks, I wouldn't pay, you know, I don't know, I wouldn't pay $800 or $1,000 for a Chromebook. I don't know why. There's something, it's way too expensive. If I would spend $1,000, I'd spend it on a laptop with Windows. But you know, the low-end market, I think if you're going to buy a $300 Windows PC, why not consider a $300 Chromebook maybe? That could also be something to check for. And like I said, for the updates, it's within the device that you'll see that. So go into your preferences and check it out. You should see in the preferences somewhere about your device operating system, you'll see Chrome OS and everything. You should see a button that will give you check for updates. And hopefully, if updates are available, it will work. So thanks for the question. And yeah, they are nice little devices, I gotta say. Two questions about very cheap PCs. First of all, we have Stephen Mail that says, that talks about last week when he had problems with his PCs. He's got a blue screen of death on his computer that wasn't working perfectly. And you've got issues with Microsoft Firefox. Playing anytime video will freeze for a few seconds and return to normal. So that's kind of interesting with Flickr. You know, the flickering and everything does really. I find that it really sounds like a graphics adapter driver problem. I'm under the impression there's a graphics adapter problem. For sure. Now you're saying that there's a recovery partition on your system. Would it make sense to go back to Windows 8.1 on that device, and how do you go to that recovery partition? So you say that it's a Lenovo, I believe. So you know what? On a Lenovo, I believe, because it depends on the PC. Each PC is a different beast. But on Lenovo, I believe F11. So when you actually press the power button, and you see that first screen of Lenovo, F11 on your keyboard should bring the Lenovo recovery features, and you will be asked what you want to do, and that uses the recovery partition of that hard drive. So if it's intact, you haven't touched it, you haven't erased it or anything, because that's very important. It still needs to have all the data on it. If you haven't touched it at all, you press F11 and you will be greeted with a recovery partition. So F11 at the start, when you see the Lenovo boot up screen, really at the beginning of when you turn on your PC, you should have available the boot up screen or the recovery screen, where it's going to ask you, do you want to do a recovery to a factory default? And that will send you to exactly what your computer had when you bought it, with all the settings, the apps, everything. And if it was Windows 8.1, you're going back to Windows 8.1. It's all up to you if you want to go back to 8.1 or not. And since you're having problems in Windows 10 with it, and if maybe you didn't have any problems or very little in Windows 8.1, it could make sense to go back to 8.1, or at least for now. Of course, you could try a clean install of Windows 10, but you know what you could do is of course do a clean install. You know, you play a lot around with your PCs, so two things you could try. You could either go back to 8.1, and if it was working fine, you're going to have a good working PC. You'll just install whatever browser you want, like Chrome or Firefox, and that's okay. And for a touch device in Windows 8.1 is actually not bad at all. So that would be okay. And if you want to try it, you can clean install with Windows 10 using the recovery tool, create a USB thumb drive, and boot from that. Other question you have, you are talking about the Kangaroo PC. And so yeah, the Kangaroo PCs are low priced PCs, and you're giving one example on Newegg. These are these are not bad. They're not. There's no huge performance on these things. Okay, you're not going to be gaming on that, and you will see that they tend to be a little sluggish, but not necessarily slow. So these devices like Kangaroo PCs, and there's also a question regarding these low-priced computers. Basically, these low-priced computers. The other question is from lost the email here. Okay, the other question is from Francis. Francis that asks also about Intel Compute Sticks and cheap Chinese Windows PC boxes that he sees on eBay. So I put all of that in the same kind of cheap PC type devices. They often are, except for the Intel Compute Sticks that are Intel, so it's an official company that we all know. The other ones all have weird names, like there's a Kangaroo, and there's the cheap, Chinese ones that have all sorts of weird names. And they stick around the $100 to $150 range. They are interesting, actually. If you want to have something that's cheap but that is interesting to play with, they are interesting in that sense. And they do what they do. The only drawback of these devices most of the time is often they have very low disk space. So the SSDs have very small disk space, and that creates problems in the future, because when you want to try to update these, it gets complicated. So say you get to the Redstone 2 update. And then in the Redstone 2 update, they're going to say, oh, you need 5 gigs of space to update. And you'll have used the PC, and you'll see that often when they don't have a lot of space, you fill it up like really, really fast. And suddenly you're kind of struggling to try to find enough space to upgrade or anything. But they are, it's like the cheap tablets, like the one that I have here. They are nice. They do their job, for browsing, for everyday use of just, the basic computer stuff that we do. It's okay, works well. It's just that sometimes they have drawbacks, so just to be careful with that. I would probably say to everybody to stay away from anything that has only 16 gigabytes of SSD, even if you can put a SD card, because they're dreadfully difficult to upgrade when you don't have a lot of space. And I worked hard to upgrade my tablet first on the November update and then on the anniversary update. It was really complex to be able to do so. So at least 32 gigabytes or more if possible. But for the rest, they're okay. They do the job, and but they are cheap. They are cheap things, and sometimes be careful. The Kangaroo, I've heard many times. A lot of the cheap Chinese ones, be careful. I've bought at least 6 or 7 cheap Chinese boxes that you plug on your TV of all sorts. For the cheap Chinese ones, out of 6 or 7 that I bought, I think there's only one left that still works. They all seem to have some issue after 6 months to a year of use, because they're probably too cheap. The last one that I had was an Android box that had paid like I don't know, $70, and it just one day stopped booting. It didn't want to boot, so there was a problem with one of the chips on the board. So be careful with the cheap Chinese ones. The Kangaroo, I've heard multiple times. I don't have an opinion in as to are they good, will they last a certain amount of time, but I have heard of them, and they look nice, And the Intel compute sticks, the compute sticks are nice because they're like USB keys, basically, almost. A little bigger and a little fatter. And they have a HDMI, so they plug into your TV directly, and you can, with a little external power supply, it's more of a transforming your big screen TV into a Windows 10 PC, basically. But, nice little devices. If you have money to spare and you want to try them, I think it's not that bad of an idea to do so. And as for Yahoo, yep, you've decided to really use it minimum possible, and I think it's okay. I had an interesting, since the Yahoo 500 plus million emails and passwords that were kind of blowing in the wind, I've received 2 websites. I had a pretty good password on Yahoo, and I had used it on Amazon and Netflix. And so after that happened, only a few days after, I had Amazon tell me, well, you should reset your password. We've seen it somewhere. And of course, they don't say where. And this week is Netflix. Netflix said, hey, your password's been kind of in the air somewhere. And I think it's better that you reset your passwords. So I've reset my passwords everywhere I can think of that's important to me. I've reset the password, put even a stronger password, and of course now have activated the 2-factor authentication. Even Netflix, I've noticed that Netflix now has asked you if you want to have add your smartphone number, and sends you a text message with a code. So that I think is nice also. And So thanks, Stephen Mail and Francis, for your questions concerning these cheap devices. One thing that is true, there's Vincent Hovens that, yes, is mentioning something that it is true that I forgot to mention when you can't go to antivirus websites and stuff like that. In the C drive, you go into Windows, into System32, into drivers, and into etc or like etc. There's a file called hosts, and that file is a file that contains rules of sites that you can go or not to. And it is true that viruses do infect or modify the host file so that it prevents you from going to certain websites. That is true that something like that can happen. Now, in his case, because I rechecked what the problem was, in his case, last week I was talking about, since it was a redirect, I've not seen any host files that redirects. I've seen host files that prevent, but yes, they could be used for redirect. So it is true that using a clean or checking out if the host file, and I kept your email because that's one of the videos that I'll do actually in post, because I think it's important everybody know that this exists, the host file, because it really can change a lot. And thanks for the email, because it is something that I had forgotten. There's so many things to check for, and sometimes you forget. But I don't know how many times I've had to modify host files on infected computers. That is totally true. And Tim Robinson just confirms that the recovery is F11 on a Lenovo. Thank you. And basically it is quite. Sorry, I was a little. Oh man. Okay. A little distracted. So yeah, there's so many things to check for when there's viruses and stuff that it's not always easy to go through. Okay, let's continue on with continue on here. Stephen Mail. So like I said, Stephen Mail, for your recovery of Windows 8.1 on your PC, it's F11 on a Lenovo. On other PCs, depending on what, an Acer, an HP, each one has its own key, but usually it's in the F keys. Most of the time it's one of the F keys. Very popular, F12, F11, F2. These are popular ones for the recovery partitions. So try one of them and you'll see. We have a question. First of all, I'm happy. Steve Martin, that had that weird problem that would have his folders switched in the File Explorer with the OneDrives and everything, has finally found out why this happened. When he would set up his PC with Microsoft account, he would actually set up the OneDrive stuff. So when he would say, do you want to sync or replace, save your files in your computer or not, he would just click next and not really give a correct answer. So that was what's happening at the Windows setup screen. That modified the rest. So that is interesting. You know what? Maybe that's why I haven't thought about it, because every time on a setup screen they give me choices like that, I always bypass and never want these things to happen. I always say no, just leave things alone. I'll set up whatever I want to set up. So maybe that's why I didn't see. So I'm happy Steve Martin has got his smile back now using his PC. So cool. Really nice to know that you fixed your problem, Steve. I know it was driving you nuts, and I was really, really curious as to exactly why it was happening also. I gotta say, I was very, very curious about that. So, wow, pretty cool. And Albert Zappa is just saying that, talking about browsers, like I was talking earlier, that he says he uses 2 Chrome browsers and 4 Firefox browsers by creating several profiles. So I can do different things on each one. Yeah, that's true. You can create profiles. That's something I didn't think about. But yep, you can create profiles that each have their own settings and their own little things that you do. So that's a good idea, by the way, Frank. Thanks for the comments. Let me just check here. I would check here. Tim Robinson has an interesting little thing. I'm reading. I've seen your post about the tablet, and we're gonna check it out, Tim. I'm gonna send an email back to you, and you know what? Next week when we have a chat room working, we'll check it out, and I'll mention. I'm not gonna mention anything about that today, but we'll see. It's up to you, you know. Make sure that you really want to do what you want to do. But if you do, maybe we can check it out next week. That's nice, a nice gesture and nice idea. So we'll keep in touch on that. Hooray, Steve Martin! At last it started. Well done. So yeah, I'm happy. Also, it was driving me crazy also because I was really wondering why is that happening. Okay, we have Double Big Mac. That's the username, and the signs off with DB. So DB Double Big Mac. I don't know. So Double Big Mac will know who he is. Okay, his questions are about system restore and PC, reset the PC and everything is kind of lost in there. So first of all, he wants to know the difference between system restore and PC reset. And of course, when do you use one or the other? Very simple. System restore is a feature of Windows 10 that is available from within your operating system. So if you go into Cortana and type restore, you will have something called create a restore point. You can click that, and there is what we call the system restore, which is a little you can click system restore to actually go back in time to fix issues. System restore is meant to simply go back in time. So it's like taking a snapshot of your system the way it is, and it creates restore points that have a date and a time. So if you install a new piece of software, everything goes bad, you don't have to reinstall your PC. You can just go to the system restore. And if you've installed it, say today, October 18th, you go, you check your restore point. You got a restore point yesterday, October 17th. You click on it, and you click apply, and you let it do its job. It's going to bring you to what your PC was like yesterday. So it's less of a problem than reinstalling completely your PC. And often it will help you or prevent that you have any issues, any problems, because what it's going to do is simply, just place everything back to normal. And it works if you've installed a piece of software and it crashes. It works if you've installed a driver and it crashes. If you've played with the system settings and then everything's bad and you want to go back to it the way it was before, System Restore is cool for that. It's a great feature of Windows. And it is also available from within the boot system. When you go to the in the options, so here we go into just to give you an idea, in the settings, all settings, and then you go into update and security. On the left side you have, of course, recovery, and one of the things that you have is advanced startup. You can restart and get into the advanced startup menu, and from there you are able to also, from outside of Windows, to get into the System Restore. So if your PC doesn't boot anymore, often you will have that advanced startup menu, which is a blue screen. And in the advanced startup menu, you have an access to the System Restore that lets you go back in time. So if it's something that you did, or if it's a virus that you caught, you might actually be able to restore earlier and fix the problem. The difference is that this does not reinstall at all Windows. This does not reinstall the operating system. It only checks how the settings were yesterday, what programs you had installed. It replaces everything as it was yesterday by taking a copy of the registry from yesterday, checking out, removing all the programs that you've installed from yesterday to today, for example. And you can go back in time a day, 2 days, 5 days. On some PCs that have a lot of restore points, you can go back in time a month and a half if you want. It is a very useful tool for a tech guy, because when people say, hey, I started having this problem on Sunday, well, you look at the date and you're like, okay, we're going to go before Sunday. And System Restore is a very little known feature of Windows. And unfortunately, I always say it, that at least 40%, I'd say a good 40% of the time, people could have fixed their own issue without calling the tech guy, just by using System Restore. And the only thing that you need to know about System Restore is that if you've installed new drivers, if you've installed new software, if you've changed settings, you want to go back in time, a day, 2 days. You don't want to go back in time usually a month, because the farther back you go, the more you will lose. So every update, every software, every tweak or changes in the system you've done from the date of the restore until today will be lost. What isn't lost? Every file. So if you have documents, music, pictures, that it doesn't touch. It doesn't touch because adding new pictures in your picture folder does not impact your operating system. So there's no use in changing that. So it will keep all your personal files, but you will lose programs, you will lose settings, drivers, Windows updates. And the thing is, that's why you don't want to go too far back in time. You want to go to the restore point that is the closest to the date we are now, but before your problem actually arises. Reset your PC is a more drastic thing. It reinstalls Windows completely. So you have two options in Reset Your PC. Reinstall Windows, keep your files, reinstall Windows, and erase everything. The difference is that this reset, the PC reset, is very long process in a lot of PCs compared to restore, because that reinstalls. So it has to take your files, put them in a little spot, reinstall Windows, bring the files back, and if you want, you can of course do a complete reinstall, which is extremely close to a clean install, by the way. The PC reset, when you say erase everything, is extremely close to a clean install. And personally, I use it instead of a clean install often because I find that it's okay. So it's more drastic. It's a complete reinstall. Now, system restore does not fix everything. So when do you use one or the other? Of course, if you can do a system restore and it works, that's okay. And that's the first thing you might want to try. If you do a system restore and it still didn't fix anything, and you don't know what's happening, then you might have to do a PC reset. Because that reinstalls Windows, it technically will fix the problems that you might have because it just reinstalls everything from scratch, like reinstalling Windows from a CD or a USB thumb drive. So, system restore, you got some issues, you go back in time, and it's always the first option you should try. If you have access to system restore, always try system restore before a PC reset, because it might just reverse the problems. But system restore doesn't work. System restore went back in time but didn't change anything. Then a PC reset might be in order to reinstall the operating system. And thank you for your questions, my friend. Okay. What else do we have here? Okay, Windows 7 questions from Helen. Helen is a new viewer. She says that she saw my live show for the first time last week and that she bookmarked the web page because she found that it was extremely interesting, and she likes the style of the program and she loves my easy to understand explanations. Questions about Windows 7. She has the possibility to buy a new PC that she's seen in a store, brand new, but it still has Windows 7. Is it worth it? It might. Why not? Windows 7 is something that is still good until 2021, I believe, something like that, 2020. So it's still 4 years before it is not supported anymore. It is the dominating operating system right now, so everything that you buy still has Windows 7 drivers and all. So it could be interesting, and it might be worth it. Why not? I would not, I'm a guy that likes new stuff, so I would probably look more into modern stuff with Windows 10 pre-installed. Yet, I would not necessarily shy away from a good PC that has Windows 7 on it. One thing that makes me a little worried about that PC with Windows 7, if it's an OEM, an original equipment manufacturer, knowing the fact that OEMs can't sell Windows 7 on their PCs for a little while now, the scary part that I have about that PC is how old is it? Yes, it might be brand new, because if I say it's old, you might say, well, oh, you mean maybe somebody bought it or brought it back, or no, it could be brand new in its box. It just could be one of those PCs that they never sold and it's still there. So that means, how old is that machine? You should look into Googling the model. So say it's a HP, whatever, DV8000. I'm making up a number here. You should Google the model number of that PC and see on websites if there's reviews or everything. What's the date of the reviews? If you punch in Google review of that model number and that brand, and it says, oh, we reviewed this in 2011, well, that's technically a 5-year-old PC. That's a PC that was the new thing 5 years ago, which means it's kind of old. technology, because in 5 years PCs have really changed a lot, and the internals of the PC has changed a lot, and that could mean it's not worth it unless you get it at a very good price. So that's something you need to check for and be careful about, because I've seen Windows 8 PCs recently in a computer store, and I just looked, and the PCs were Lenovo PCs that had Windows 8.1 on it, and I could see that when checking reviews, the PCs were about 2.5 years old, meaning, yeah, they are brand new, and they are in their new state in the box, but it's stuff that they just couldn't sell, and that they're stuck with, and they're trying to sell them. So just be careful with that. That's my recommendation. But I wouldn't say necessarily no to a Windows 7 PC. The other question you have is there a way to transfer a license from your desktop? It's an HP computer that broke down into a new PC that would come from a local computer shop. They built their own machines. No, because you're saying it's an HP. So it's if that computer, the HP you're talking about, you bought it with Windows 7, you cannot transfer it to the new PC. Because the way it works is that if it's an OEM, and that's the important thing, there are two ways you can get Windows. OEM, original equipment manufacturer, that's the version pre-installed by the manufacturer. So if you bought that HP computer, it had Windows 7 on it, pre-installed, that Windows is not going to work on any other machine. Why? Because an OEM is not transferable at all. If you call Microsoft and you say, well, it's an HP, they're going to say, well, we can't transfer that license. And the reason is, it's a license that they got for cheap. So any PC that came with a Windows operating system, it's not transferable to another PC on Windows 7. Now, in Windows 10, everything has changed, I gotta say. But on Windows 7, and here we're really in the Windows 7 case, an OEM cannot be transferred to a new PC. If by any chance that HP computer didn't come with Windows 7, it came with, I don't know, Vista, and you bought a CD and installed from a CD or a boxed version of Windows 7, and you have the key and everything, that can be transferred to the new PC. A boxed version of Windows 7, that you have the CD and the key, that you simply call Microsoft when you install it, and you use the automated tool. When you call Microsoft, it's going to ask you, well, first, when you want to activate it, it's going to say it can't. So it's going to give you a phone number on the screen when you try to activate it. You call that number. It's going to actually ask you for a set of numbers that you see on your screen, and it's going to reply back with numbers that you enter the little boxes. And it's going to ask you that crucial question: are you using it only on one machine? Just say yes, and it will transfer. So you can use a boxed version of Windows 7 on a new machine. They let you transfer it, no problems. And I got a little tip here for you, that if I don't know how long it's going to work, but I was thinking about that when I was reading your email. If you have a new PC that you have done at the computer shop, and you can install Windows on your own, if you are capable of doing a Windows on your own, installing from scratch, there's a little trick. That OEM Windows 7 key probably is on your HP box. And if you can see the product key, for some reason, if you install Windows 10 on that new PC, when it asks you for a key, if you enter that Windows 7 key you have on the HP box, still, as of today, October 18th, you get a free copy of Windows 10. It's still working today, October 18th. But thing is, how long? We don't know. You know, the free upgrade stopped at the end of July. So I'm a little surprised that it still works. At the same time, I'm wondering if Microsoft's not pulling one, um, from, you know, maybe they want to pull everybody in Windows 7 and try to bring them to Windows 10. Maybe they're creating that intentional loophole so that people can still upgrade for free. But yet, it is possible for you to just install from scratch Windows 10 and enter that OEM Windows 7 key. You'll have a free Windows 10 on that new PC, which I think is not a bad idea. Tim Robinson says, I removed the license from my past PC so that I could register it on new PC. In fact, that's how I transferred it to this PC. Then upgraded it to Windows 10. It was a CD key that I bought and I unregistered via a command prompt and registered on a new PC with a command prompt. So yeah, well, that's the thing is, you had a CD, but you can use, you know, if you don't want to use the command prompt or anything, all you do is, you know, when you click activate Windows, it's gonna ask you how you want to activate it, and you can activate it by phone, and that works really well. It's a simple procedure, and it will activate it on the new PC. But that, you know, use that little trick. It's still working. Like I said, for how long, I don't know. And thanks for your questions. We have questions about smartphones, and the questions come from Patrick, which is a regular contributor to our tech questions. So Patrick has the following question. He's got a great deal for a Lumia phone. He's wondering if he should buy it because he's due for a new smartphone. It's a Lumia 850. So he's wondering, is it worth it? Should I? Maybe people that have, you know, I saw one post of a user that lost when my Windows channel got removed. He had lost trace, and he found my channel again. Was yesterday, and he kind of updated a little bit, you know, where he is at and everything. And he's bought a Lumia phone, and he says he's really happy, and he's actually surprised at how many apps that he needs that he found on the Windows Store and everything. But he is also an insider, so he likes playing with the insider side of it. So, you know, why not? Maybe if you're not attached to, you know, Android or anything, it could be. But remember, limited apps is probably the phone itself, and what it can do is not going to be the problem. You know, all the Lumia phones are great phones, and they all work fantastically well. The only thing you need to think about, because that's where things can get a little complex, is apps. Where, you know, what apps are you using? Are they available on your, you know, on your phone? Because if they're not, then you'll have a problem with that. You won't have the apps that you use every day, and it could be a problem. So check out, what do you use, and are they available? It's the only question that you have to ask yourself to say, will I go to this phone? I think is apps. If you don't use much and the apps that you want to use are all available, it could be a great move. Tim Robinson just commented saying Lumia are still very capable phones. I love mine except the lack of apps. It's exactly what I'm saying. It's great phones. Apps are the problem. You also say, and that's interesting, that you have a Note 7 and you haven't sent it back. And the question you're asking is, what happens if I keep it? I love the phone. You shouldn't keep it for several options. First of all, the more I read on it, the more that phone is extremely dangerous. And you shouldn't keep it. Really shouldn't. Second, that phone will never get updates. Because now they've removed it from circulation, you'll never get updates to it. So that's the second thing that you should think about. No more Note 7 in circulation, no more updates for it. And basically, get yourself something else. I know you might love it. You know what? If you really want to stay into Android, get yourself a Galaxy S7 Edge. It's a great phone. It doesn't explode, and it's as capable as the Note 7 pretty much. Even though the Note 7 is a little more powerful, and you'll still be in a nice environment. Don't keep it. Don't keep it. It's a bad idea. And you won't be able to go anywhere if you take planes. If you go somewhere, nobody will want you to have it. So I think you should not keep it. And finally, your son has updated his iPhone 5 to iOS 10. It seems slow. Yes, it is slower. I have my iPhone 5 here in the office that typically serves mostly as an iPod and as a game player with my Apple TV. And since iOS 10, it's slow to start up. It's slow to get to just entering my code, and it is slow. Yes, you are right. Unfortunately, you're stuck there. It's kind of really complex. Apple doesn't want you to go back. So you are right. It is slow, and I think it just means that you might need to think about, moving to another phone for your kid there. Thanks for your questions. Hey, you're watching the Live Tech Show from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. My name is Gilles. We are here every Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 hours UTC. Patreon.com/radio and computers if you want to contribute in any way to help me. PayPal. Nice little donation that you can do if you want through PayPal at the Yahoo email address that you see here. And thank you to everybody that's already contributed. And you know what? This helps me continue doing what I love and help all of you guys and girls out there. Okay, we continue on with a question from Matthew. Matthew says that he loves the show, and one of the few questions that he's got, he wants my opinion on Logitech mouse and keyboards versus Microsoft keyboards and mice, and versus weird brands of mouse and keyboards. And what I always say, and I'm going to give you the advice I always give to my clients. You want to buy a new mouse, a wireless mouse, a keyboard, a wireless keyboard, get a Logitech or Microsoft. Forget about everything else. And the reason is both Logitech and Microsoft have fantastic devices. They always work well. There's always, that kind of very little problem. Now, that said, doesn't mean that weird brands don't work. There are weird brands mouse and weird branded keyboards that work great. But I don't know. I've had in the past, especially with wireless devices, so many issues with non-popular branded stuff that I think buying Logitech or Microsoft is the way to go. And that's pretty much what I always say to everybody. buy one of those brands. You can't go wrong. If you do buy a weird brand, because some other brands are probably quite fine, what I would do is Google the model of that mouse or that keyboard or that combo and check out what other people think. If everybody says, wow, best thing I've ever bought, go ahead. But if you see people saying, oh, it's lagging or, it's not working well, then don't buy it. But, sorry guys, Logitech and Microsoft are great in mouse and keyboards, and this is a wireless Logitech. That's why I bought it, because it was Logitech. It was like, well, and this works fantastically well. That's pretty much what I think. But, if you have something that's not a Microsoft Logitech, doesn't mean not to buy it. Because I don't want also that people buy only specific brands. But Google it to make sure that you know what you will have. We have Joseph that has problems with printers. So he says he's got several printers in his home office that he uses for all sorts of work that he does. He's an accountant, and as I can imagine, prints a lot. Questions. One of my printers, an HP DeskJet inkjet printer, actually prints blank pages for the past month and a half. Now, I've seen your video where I would need to clean the heads of the printer using the tool that HP has, and unfortunately, still prints blank pages. What do you think could be wrong? Well, blank pages from printers is almost always clogged nozzles, meaning that the printhead is totally jammed. And unfortunately, if it's jammed really well, it is possible that even after cleaning it with the cleaning process 20 times, it still prints blank pages. If that is the case, you've got two types of DeskJet printers in HP. One is the cartridge or print heads at the same time. So every time you change the print cartridge, you're changing the print head at the same time. I like those for one simple reason. Since because you change the cartridge, you also change the print head. It means if you print blank pages and then nothing happens, change the cartridge and you're okay to go. If you have a ink cartridge that goes into a printhead holder, then the printhead might be clogged. Even if you change the ink, it doesn't change anything because it's the printhead. Now, what you could try is, I've had some success in putting the printhead, just the tip where the ink should go through of the printhead, in rubbing alcohol. That seemed to have some success. Another type of success I've had was putting it in boiling water. And boiling water sometimes works. Don't leave it too long in the boiling water, and only the tip, not the whole printhead. You're gonna mess up everything. One last thing about HP printers that can do blank pages is if you have cartridges that you enter and there's like this copper colored kind of matrix, and that when you put the print head, it touches that matrix in the back of the printer, and I have one like that here. If you remove the cartridge and you see it has a big copper plate on the back with little dots, one of the things that can happen is that the printhead doesn't contact correctly the back of the metal of the contacts are not working well. What that does is that depending on which contacts are wrong, the printer sometimes doesn't see that the contacts is not good, So what it does, it's like, oh, okay, the printhead's there, and it wants to print, but the cartridge doesn't receive all the instructions or all that it's needed. So make sure that you clean with a little bit of rubbing alcohol the circuit board where the contacts happen in the printer where you put the cartridge in, and on the cartridge itself. That is a common issue if your printer's old. My DeskJet 952 does that. It's 15 years old. I've printed 200,000 pages with it around, and it started doing that after about 100,000 page. And that's because as it's printing, you notice that ink, kind of little droplets of ink, go a little bit everywhere inside the printer. So the contacts become coated with a little bit of ink. Even though you don't see it, when you actually clean it, you notice that your rubbing alcohol has different colors, and you notice, wow, okay, there were some colors on it, even if you don't see it. So it tells you, oh, okay, there was some ink on it. Well, try that. These are little things that I would say about that. Another thing that you have a Samsung wireless printer that always loses Wi-Fi connectivity. You're going crazy. And you say that it is next to one of your PCs, and you're thinking about plugging it USB directly. Is that the best thing to do? Is there something I can do? Wireless printers losing Wi-Fi connectivity is one of the biggest issues I see in printing right now. It depends on the model, it depends on your router, it depends on the signal level, it depends on the setup, it depends on so many things. That some printers are fantastic and work all the time. Some printers lose connectivity on Wi-Fi a gazillion times. You know what you're saying? Do it. If that printer's losing all the time its Wi-Fi, and you can plug it in with a USB cable, plug it with a USB cable and stop using it on Wi-Fi and just print from that computer all the time. It's going to work great, and you're going to stop going crazy. If it's not an option or you prefer, check out for an update of both the driver of your printer for your PC, but also an update for the printer's firmware. The printer itself has a firmware, a little software inside it. There are often firmware updates for these printers. Sometimes they fix connectivity issues between the router and the printer. So check that out on the manufacturer's Samsung's website. You should have all of that available. And finally, you've got a LaserJet, color LaserJet that you've paid a fortune, and that now says it's got paper jam, and that you've checked everything, you've opened up, you've removed everything, and it still says paper jam. Yeah, it could be one of the sensors that's gone bad. What happens is that paper jam, usually the printer has little sensors that kind of checks if everything is all right. And if paper jams, of course, the sensors know that something is wrong, or sometimes it's the roller with the force that it needs to turn. Oh, I need more force than usual, maybe a paper jam. I don't know how old that printer is. If it's a very good printer, what you might benefit is having somebody clean it up. It might actually bring it back to life. I've seen some good laser printers that companies want to keep because the ink is cheaper than the average printer, and they just love the printer. And basically, a lot of them have that issue of paper jam at some point, and they're wondering, well, do I have to throw it away or what? Maybe a cleaning, especially for an expensive laser, for $100 laser printer, if you can't cope with it and still doesn't work, you can try a few things like resetting the printer. There are ways, the manual online, and that's one thing you can try, by the way, for that, is reset the printer. So when you check out the manual often has, you turn on and you press a certain number of keys on it, and it resets the printer. Stuff like that. Sometimes it could be just that, but it happens very often if a sensor is dirty, or maybe a sensor has a problem. That could happen. So, having cleaned it thoroughly might fix the issue. Unfortunately, in some cases, changing a printer might be the only way to go, unfortunately. First, we're just going to check, because Tim Robinson was saying about the mouse and keyboard stuff. He says checking out a gaming grade, different brands of gaming grade mice and keyboards. So he says there's a YouTube channel called Tech of Tomorrow that shows good non-top brands at good prices. Many of them are gaming grade, so that's something you can check for. Also, I have Albert Zappa says, I like Logitech because when you have a dongle for one, it usually works with another Logitech device, so you don't have to buy a bunch of them. So yeah, that could be something that happens. Okay, questions that were coming back, one about Stephen Mail, but also from Emilio, that is in Puerto Rico. And he says the questions are: Windows 10 PC contains an old Windows 8.1 partition. Can I remove? In the case of Emilio, yes. If you think you'll never go back to Windows 8.1, that partition can be removed and reformatted for your own use. Because you're saying that it's measuring 30 gigabytes and you'd use it to store other stuff. Yeah, that's fair. If you know you'll never go back to Windows 8.1, yes, it can. Access to recovery partitions, of course, that's a common question depending on the computer you have. So Lenovo F11, but depending on the PC you have, the brand, different types of partitions are available. Of keys you have to press to have the partitions available. And I have seen some Acers, unfortunately, that you can't from the outside. You have to be in Windows and go into the Acer folder in the programs, and there you have the recovery stuff, which I always thought that was kind of stupid, because if your PC stops working, you can't access that. And you say what? Kind of the same question as earlier, but in a different form. PC reset of your Windows 10 PC versus recovery partition of reinstall of Windows. What is better? Well, PC reset reinstalls Windows. Recovery partition reinstalls kind of the manufacturer default. When you bought it and you turned it on for the first time, it looked in a certain way. Recovery partition brings it back like this. PC reset will reinstall Windows. But I gotta say that for a lot of PCs that have a recovery partition, PC reset will not work. It's going to say, oh, you have to use recovery partition. There's a lot of PCs that come like that. Hey, you're watching Live Tech Show number 49, Tuesday, October 18, 2016. And we still have a few minutes left. Let's see if we can have a little more information here. Okay. We have Tommy. That says I'm sending out an email with Learn the Tech subjects. Thank you very much. Tim Robinson also sent me some suggestions for Learn the Tech. And by the way, tonight we have Learn the Tech, of course, at 6 p.m. The Learn the Tech subject tonight is the most common websites that people visit and what they're all about. So of course we'll talk about Google and Facebook and Twitter and all of that, because there's a lot of misunderstanding of what is Twitter, what is Facebook, and so on. And we'll talk about each website, what they have to offer. Like Google, we'll talk more about just being search. We'll talk about some of the services and the stuff that they also offer. And Facebook, Twitter, Wikipedia, so on. we'll go through some of the most popular websites and kind of share with you what they are exactly and why would you want to use one or the other. So that's the subject for tonight. Okay, question. Question. Okay, question. He stumbled on a video on YouTube on how to build computers, and at the end it showed that you will need to update the firmware and the BIOS, or UEFI, today's term. I think anyways, made me wonder if my BIOS or UEFI was updated to the latest version. It's important to keep up with, or do I need to worry about it or not? So he's giving, here is MSI motherboard number, and it says in system BIOS date 28, probably 28 May 2013. In video BIOS date says 23 May 2014. Okay, on the website it says 23 May 2014 is the latest update. So here's the thing about BIOS updates. You know what? Most of the time, when a computer runs fine, I will never say to the person to upgrade the BIOS. If it works fine, leave it alone, because that's a big upgrade. It's not that it's very difficult to do. Most of the time it's a file you download and you have an executable that will update the firmware. Sometimes it's a CD that you have to create, or a thumb drive. Thing is, if everything's working great on your PC, don't modify the BIOS and leave it alone. What BIOS updates do usually is, okay, sometimes there's glitches in the way that the motherboard works, and they fix that. But if you don't have any crashes, never, it means it's working fine. It sometimes adds features like my Toshiba laptop that I had, not this one, but the one before. When I bought it, it accepted only 4 gigabytes of RAM. And when I updated the BIOS, well, one of the features was now you can have 8 gigabytes of RAM. It could accept 8 gigabytes instead of only 4. So there are things like that that upgrade from time to time. Sometimes they, kind of fix issues where communication with a hard drive is had a problem or is slowed down or anything. But don't worry too much about that. And you know what? If your PC works perfectly well, I think you should leave it alone. You've upgraded to Windows 10, so of course, sometimes when you upgrade to a new operating system, it's not a bad idea to upgrade to the new BIOS, because it offers new features that Windows Update will look for. But if everything is all right, I think it's okay. Second question you have is someone asked a few weeks ago about Windows 10, the last OS, and you said yes. And he says that Microsoft will eventually drop Windows 10, just the number 10, and just make it as Windows. Well, the question, do you know or have any idea when that will take place? If Microsoft, does that, and Amazon still sell their Windows 10 flash drive license, will anyone know that they're getting the right Windows, such as 10 Home or so on the flash drive and so on. That's anyone's guess. There's a lot of speculation on what Windows 10 will be in the future. A lot of speculation on what will happen. One of the things we know, and actually there was a nice article on Paul Thurrot's website for premium users, where he was sharing an article and his thoughts on somebody saying that Windows isn't important for Microsoft anymore, and because of that, Microsoft could just say, we don't want to have anything to do with Windows anymore. Yeah. I don't think they're there yet, and they're still making a lot of money with Windows. And I think Windows is still part of what's important to them. So for now, I do not believe there will ever be another Windows than Windows 10 because of that. Why create a new Windows version when Windows is slowly fading away? And first of all, and it's not bringing in the money that it used to at Microsoft. I think that the idea that they would drop the number 10, is an appealing one, because at some point, after a gazillion versions, why call it 10? Just call it Windows. Like Mac, give numbering. So there was like Mac OS 10.10, 0.11, 0.12, and you had these numbers and then a name. They've now decided to just call it Mac OS because it makes more sense than, instead of having a gazillion numbers, to just say, well, this is Mac OS. It's the operating system for Mac computers. So it would make sense that they would just drop to Windows. But of course, they will have no more 10 on it, but they will still probably sell it as Windows Home, Windows Pro, Windows Education, Windows whatever. So there's still going to be that name next to it that's going to say this is the Pro version or this is the Home version, but it's just going to be Windows. And it won't really matter what version you get, because Windows 10 will always be upgradable to the last version. From what we know right now, in 3 years' time, if we've had 8 updates to Windows 10, if the name is changed from Windows 10 to Windows, well, if you use today's thumb drive, install it fresh, or clean install on your PC, it's going to say, oh, we've got a big update, and you're going to be at Windows, and you're going to be at the latest version, and you're going to be at what you need to be, because it will always upgrade. And the way Windows 10 works is, if you install, for example, the first Windows 10 from July 29th of last year, it's going to say there's a update, and the update is the anniversary update. It's going to bring you immediately to the update we have now. It's not going to go through different updates. It's going to say, well, there's an update, and as soon as the update's done, it's going to say here we are, you're at 1607, and with the cumulative update that it's going to add to it, they'll be at the latest version, 1607. So it doesn't really matter, because there's going to be an update. And even the thumb drives that you buy right now with Windows are often not updated to the latest version. So they will be, okay, you install Windows, and you are going to have a big update, and you'll be at the latest version, and that's it. So it doesn't really matter that much to be or not at the latest update, basically. And yeah, it's interesting, that it's just going to work, because I do believe that for now, and that's pretty much what everybody thinks for now, we are staying in the same operating system forever. And thanks for sharing that YouTube video. I'm going to be checking it out. So thank you, Tommy, or AKA Viper the Bookman. Always nice to have you on board. And thanks for the suggestions for Learn the Tech Show, by the way. Pretty cool. And thank you, Tim Robinson, for Learn the Tech Topics also. And let's just take a quick look here. Check it out here. We have Mary Ellen Parker that agrees with my rant on today about on Microsoft Edge. And she's bringing me to an article on winbeta.org about Skype rolls out single sign-on to Microsoft services. Since I had a question last week about the automatic sign-in to that Skype preview with new Outlook Mail on the web, this is news story Has me livid. Whatever happened to choice with this company? It used to be the hallmark of this company to allow users to have control over their own devices and to arrange their desktops and programs apps to fit their own productivity needs. That is what I most loved about Microsoft. But it is getting harder to defend this company's behavior with this stuff. Microsoft shouldn't make automatic sign-ins the default. There should be an option to opt in rather than opt out. I am so tired of having to hack my own computer in order to have control over my devices. This isn't my idea of productivity. She says that she scanned the feedback app in the Microsoft community forums often, and believe me, I am not the only one that is wondering about these issues. A lot of other consumers are fed up with not having control over their own devices and apps. Ever since the anniversary update, a lot of things on my laptop don't work correctly anymore. Can't get Cortana on the lock screen. Edge messes up with a website I have used daily. Updates and gone bonkers. Can't get reminders any longer on Cortana. Live tiles and MSN apps don't update. And a whole host of other issues. What in the world is going on with this company? I am not an enterprise or business, but I can't help from feeling like plain old regular consumer users like myself are being abandoned by Microsoft. Am I the only one that feels this way? Thanks for your rant. It's rant day today. You know what? It is extremely hard to defend a lot of things that Microsoft does. I understand some point of view in this and some point of view, everybody's point of view. It is true that we should have the opt-in option. It's like Windows 10. Windows 10, when it first was released, you were kind of put in the face of a Microsoft account, and it was kind of difficult, and lots of things didn't work if you wanted to have a local account, and they've readjusted that. Like Cortana now works on a local account. It didn't before. It only worked on a Microsoft account. They readjusted because people said, well, hey, maybe I want to use Cortana, but I don't want to sign into your stuff. So, yeah, there's a good side to Microsoft wanting to do this. They want to do this to make it easy for people. I believe at one point they want to do this also because, yes, it is true. They are getting tons of data from us with all of that, and forcing us to use a lot of their own services, or even signing us into services we don't use. I don't know. Maybe they have the impression that we'll use more of their things, but it's hard to quantify. I'm trying to find, as a tech guy, there's always been a lot of ranting against Microsoft. A lot. I mean, as long as I can remember, Microsoft annoys people a lot. And I don't know. Is it because I'm in this too deep and I'm just always watching tech? I don't know. I have some feeling that there's more ranting. I don't know. It's kind of hard. Is there more ranting? I'd like to quantify if there's more ranting now than 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. If we'd go back 5 years and search forums and search, it's difficult. But it is true that there's, the fact that there's no choice in a lot of stuff. And I think that started a little bit with forcing updates. A lot of people didn't want to have forced updates on their PCs, and that annoyed a certain amount of people. I'm on the side of updated PCs without you having a choice is not a bad idea because of security. If we think of security, just purely security. Then when the anniversary update arrived, it's like okay, a lot of people were complaining and stuff. Maybe some stuff, and also the first two cumulative updates that came after the anniversary update that were problematic and installed on machines. I don't know. I'm trying to keep a cool and open mind on this. But you are right about one thing. If you want Skype, you should opt in, not have, hey, you've got Skype on the web that's in your face when you're logging to Outlook. That I agree, it shouldn't be there. I agree we should be asked, oh, you can log into your Skype via Outlook. Do you want to do this? That should be the way it should be done. Yes. Like in Windows 10, lots of rant about privacy. There are things we should be asked. Yes. Some people don't want Cortana. Some people think it's a security or more like a privacy problem. Well, anniversary update makes Cortana kind of difficult to remove. So, why not ask? Okay, do you want to have Cortana Assistant, yes or no? And if you say no, it shuts off and it never bothers you again. And, it tells you, well, here's where you need to go to. Lots of ranting about, Windows 7 users when they got that pop-up that says, hey, you want to have Windows 10, and it downloaded on their PCs, and it's like, hey, it's going to install tomorrow at 8 p.m. Lots of people, hey, it's my choice. I don't want this to happen. And some people got it installed because they didn't understand that, look, it's saying tomorrow at 8 p.m. If you're shutting down with the X, you haven't said you don't want it. It just told you tomorrow at 8 p.m. There's a lot of things like that I think Microsoft pushed a lot of users in the negativity here. And lately, and we're going to end with that because I got to prepare myself, eat a little something before we go to learn the tech show. But there are a few things that I can't understand about anniversary update. And a few things that I do. Some of the broken stuff in the anniversary update, I can't understand why they did not see it, especially with all the insiders. I will admit something, and maybe that's what's happening. As an insider, my insider machine is used for insider-only stuff. It is true that I never plugged in my Logitech webcam on the insider machine. I do not plug in my printers. It is purely seeing the new stuff, ranting or sending feedback about what doesn't work well or if things don't go right. If that's the way most insiders work, meaning we don't plug in and use the stuff we use on our main computers, maybe that's why they didn't see that happening. Maybe that's why some people had their cameras broken. Maybe that's why, that's a good question. How do insiders use their PCs? Yes, there's a certain amount that must use their PCs, their insider PCs as main computers and use all of these devices. But I wouldn't be surprised that most people that use their PCs for insider are just using a machine that's an insider machine, like I do. This is the insider machine with this here. And now I'm forcing myself, because it's here, I'm using the insider machine much, much more. And yes, I should maybe, put my printers in the network and everything, maybe, to recreate the real feel of an insider machine working with all this stuff every day. But it is hard to understand some of the things that happen I gotta say, one of the things that Mary Jo Foley was talking last week on Windows Weekly about the cumulative update that didn't work well, and that apparently some insiders had mentioned that the cumulative update created issues, those that were on the release preview. But like she says, Microsoft is secret about a lot of stuff. For example, Microsoft is secret about how many people are going crazy over something. She was saying, for example, in the insiders, how many insiders complained that there was a problem with the cumulative update? We'll never know. There are things that Microsoft does not say that maybe we should know, or they don't want to tell us. I don't know. One side of Microsoft is still scary, and it's the side where it's very secretive about a lot of things. Now, as a big business, yes, there are secrets and there are things you don't say. But then again, look at Apple. Apple doesn't say anything. If I remember one update at Apple that created major issues with Wi-Fi. And then Apple came back and said, yeah, we know there's Wi-Fi issues on MacBook Pros. I was the tech guy with all of that happening. And people would call me up and say, I have Wi-Fi issues with my MacBook. And, I would fix it. And I remember fixing it quite easily by just removing the adapter and reinstalling it in the Mac operating system. And I believe that was in the time of Lion 10.7. How many people complained to Apple about Wi-Fi issues? We would read tech news, Wi-Fi issues apparently. But then again, Apple does the same. When an iPhone update goes, they ain't saying how many people got bitten by some bad problems. iOS 10. I see, my friends that have iPhone 6s, I have a few of them that just telling me I'm going crazy with iOS 10, and I don't know. And there are, in all fairness, we gotta just be careful about one thing. The majority of people using computers are using Windows. And you got to remember that because it is the biggest player in the operating systems for PCs, we probably have a lot of bad stuff because the sheer number of users, but there are a few things. My ranting on Edge, I think pretty much everybody has the same problem. I don't think that's an issue with little, me and two other people. I think everybody has a problem with Edge. That's my opinion. And before we go, Tim Robinson says, in my opinion, Microsoft rants were a lot more in the past. It's only, in my opinion, that it is happening a lot again is due to the release of Windows 10 and the big changes that came along with it. For example, data sent to Microsoft. Cheers. Yeah. Microsoft is a more open company than it ever did before. There's one side to Microsoft we gotta give it credit for. Before Windows 8 and before Satya Nadella at the top, you gotta remember that Microsoft was much more secretive, and we didn't know nothing, and we were, a lot of people are going crazy about what's happening here. And you know what? I'm going to end with one thing that, as a tech guy, I have seen. And what I see today reminds me simply of that period. When Windows 7 was released, okay, we had Windows Vista, which was hated, and that isn't that bad. Personally, I don't think Vista is that bad. Once you have all the updates, when there are service packs and everything, They kind of tweaked it that it wasn't that bad finally. But at the beginning, it was a dreadful, huge thing that was a resource hog. When Windows 7 came, okay, Windows 7 is Windows Vista. Everybody says, oh, Windows 7 is so good. I'm so happy Vista's back there. Windows 7 is Windows Vista. It shares the same core. It shares a lot of common tweaks and a lot of common processes. It's Windows Vista. You just played around with it and made it a little more efficient. But you're running Windows Vista when you're running Windows 7, and I'm sorry, but that is exactly the case. It's just been tweaked. And you know what? When Windows 7 arrived, a lot of people were moving from Windows XP back then. And a big amount of users didn't go to Vista. They passed from XP to Windows 7. And one of the particular things about XP to Windows 7 is the fact that the core of Windows has changed dramatically from XP to 7. And you know what? I remember the huge ranting of how bad Windows 7 was when it was released. I remember the ranting of my clients saying, hey, my printer doesn't work anymore, and there's no drivers, and there's no nothing, and I'm going to have to buy a new one. Because the driver model and everything was changed so much that if the manufacturer didn't issue a new driver, forget it. A lot of software from Windows XP couldn't run on Windows 7. A lot. Not just a few titles. It was, at some point, a 50-50 chance. You had that game that you wanted to have on Windows 7, that was a 50-50 chance that it would work from Windows XP. And I can tell you one thing. There was as much, if not much more rant about Windows 7 that now everybody wants to hold on to because it's such a fantastic operating system, apparently. So you know what? That's why I don't want to give in too much on the ranting and on the bad stuff, because it's a new operating system and there's rant of things that don't work in. And as a tech guy, I have to take off the rant of a lot of things also. There's a lot, and I would say the majority of ranting about ignorance. People rant about something, but it's just because they just don't really know how to, have it working or something, and that it's often a very easy and, and if you take out the majority of rant, that is probably more of, I just don't know how to use a computer and I don't know what to do here, and which is a majority of people. We gotta do that. I can tell you one thing. The majority of the users and of my clients are, there's a computer in my face and I know how to do this, but I have no idea what to do. I have no idea where to click, and I don't want to change anything because I'm scared. And it's not just because it's a PC. Same amount of users on the Mac are basic users. Same amount of users are on their phone. They answer calls, they send text messages, they use Facebook. They do nothing else. And they don't want to. They're scared. They don't even go to the App Store. I don't know how many people don't even go to the App Store on their iPhones or on their Android phones. So you got to take those people away, because those people, because of the fact they don't know anything and it's just so basic, they often rant about something that's not a problem. It's just you don't know how to do it. And I do believe the rant on Windows 7 back then was as high, if not higher. Now, rants are different today. There are rants about one thing today that wasn't there back then. Of course, privacy, stuff like that. And Windows 7, we weren't talking about privacy. You know, and in the times of Windows 7, privacy was not even something we really talked about much. Privacy became something we started talking about with, Edward Snowden telling us, hey, governments are looking at everything you do. And Microsoft saying, hey, we are going to take all of this data from Windows. And I still believe that the data taken from Microsoft Windows 10 is purely for, knowing how everything is working and tweaking it to try to fix everything if there's a problem. There's a lot of stuff that we can rant about. And, in all fairness, yes, there are things on Windows 10 that is legal that we rant about. In all fairness, when somebody tells me, why don't they ask me permission to do this instead of pushing me towards this? Yes, you're right. You're right. And that, in all fairness, is legal and correct ranting, if you want. So, hey guys, take care. We've gone a little longer. Decided to talk about ranting a little bit, and share, because what's nice is I've got an experience that a lot of you don't have also, and it's the fact that I am in the field, going to people's houses and looking at problems on computers and problems and everyday usage of everybody. And I've been doing that. The first computers I fixed were not Windows 98 PCs and Windows Millennium, and then some had Windows 2000, and some had Windows XP, and then Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. I come from that period, and the first computers that I would tweak were Windows 98. I can tell you, if you wanted to rant, Windows 98 is something to rant about. Windows Millennium is something to rant about. Is the, if somebody would use Windows Millennium and go on Vista, I can tell you, they wouldn't rant about Vista. They would rant about Millennium, how bad it was, but they would say, oh, Vista, it's okay. It doesn't crash. It's all a question of perspective and what we do. And there are more computer users than ever today. So, hey, for those that want to stay in an hour's time, learn the tech on this same stream, where we're going to talk about popular websites and what they are, what they do, what you can do there. I think it's going to be interesting. Hey, thank you all for your questions. We have a few questions that came in through the show that I'll be talking about next week. Thanks for everybody's input. And next week, don't forget, we'll have a chat room on the YouTube Live. And hopefully, it's going to be cool and nice interaction with everybody that wants to be there. I think it's going to be fun. So take care, everyone. This was Live Tech Show number 49 for October 18, 2016. We'll be back next week at 3 p.m. for another live show. And don't forget our Live Tech Show in just barely more than an hour's time. Bye-bye, everyone.